Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamatsyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Shruti-smriti-purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat-pada Shankaram Loka-shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So we are in that section of the Vivekachudamani, the crown jewel of discrimination, where Bhagwan has already explained discrimination between the self and the not self, and now he is going even deeper into the discrimination by taking up each of the koshas individually. How I cannot be the Annamaya, the Pranamaya, the Manomaya, and the Vijnanamaya kosha, and ultimately then the causal body as well. So that is the portion that we are on right now. And it started with where did we start? Koshi, yeah, here. So we started with 154, the verse number 154, where each verse is giving us one reason to tell us how we cannot be the body. Like, even if I want to be the body, I cannot. That's what he's trying to tell us. Like, even if you feel like, and if you want to be, you can't. And many reasons have been given. First of all, his Annamaya Kosha, he said that it is born out of food, depends on food, is food for somebody else, and after that it will become food for somebody else. So that reason is there. It is changing, it is seen, the body is seen. Ghatabat pashyata, it is seen, like I can see a pot, it is seen, and whatever is seen is inert and cannot be me. I cannot be that which I see, perceive with my senses. Now the body is being seen, and it has got limbs which can get cut. We see that people get legs amputated, hand is amputated. So Atma cannot be cut and body can be. So that's why I cannot be that. And then it Atma, because of all these qualities being different, Atman is something different than the body. We may not know what the Atman is right now, but the bottom line is at least we must not be thinking ourselves to be the body, the Annamaya Kosha. And then again, he hammers into us that it is nothing but uh, uh, an assemblage of bones and flesh and blood and etc. etc. Tvang masa medusti, so bone, marrow, skin. And then he goes on to tell us that there are people who, there are Advaita school, Vishishta Advaita school and Advaita school. All three believe in the Vedas. They are taking stuff from Bhagavad Gita or from the Vedas, but they are only sticking to one aspect of it. Like I told you, Advaita school would say we are the children of the Father in heaven. We are the children of God, all of us. So not that they're telling anything wrong, but they are targeting an audience, a group of people who are not yet that much evolved, whose thinking is not yet that subtle. Those who are gross-minded and who think themselves to be the body, and most of us are like that, then it's a very easy concept to understand that there is a God somewhere out there and I'm his child. And there's nothing wrong with that understanding. As the thinking becomes subtler, then we go into I am a part of God. There's nothing wrong with that either, because the main bottom line is they do acknowledge that there is a God. Remember, in both these schools, they are saying there is a God. They're not like atheists who say there is no God at all. No, there is a God and I am a child of God, or I am a part of God. And that depends on the maturity of the student. If the student can understand the highest reality, then Advaita is it. Where Advaita says there is actually no difference between me and God. And that is the Advaita. But to understand that from the highest, from the absolute standpoint is not very easy. And that's why these masters who have propounded Dvaita and Vishishta Advaita, please remember, they were also established in Advaita. They knew the truth, but at the same time, they also knew that not all people are going to be able to grasp this idea. So for our sake, they have done it. They have given these three paths. Okay, fine, no problem. You think God is separate from you, no problem. Consider yourself as a child of God. Consider yourself as a part of God. But do know that there is a God. And they are taking from the Bhagavad Gita. I gave you examples. Sutre Manigana Eva is for the Vaita school, where they say that Bhagwan himself said he's the sutra and we are the money, we are the gems, we are the pearls. And then the thread that in which these pearls are woven is different from the pearls. So the Bhagwan himself said. Or in chapter 15, it is said, Mama eva ausha jiva. My ausha, my part is this jiva. See, Bhagwan himself said that you are a part of me, that the jiva is a part of me. So that's Vishishta Advaita. The reason that the concept of jiva is given to us so that we can rise above that level as well. Suddenly to go from number 1 to number 3 or number 5 is difficult. So that middle rung is given to us of jiva. At least do not consider yourself to be the body, consider yourself to be the jiva. That is better than considering yourself to be the body. For sure. Anything is better than considering yourself to be this packet of filth. Like Gurudev would say, there's a bag of garbage. Now you think you're a bag of garbage, then now nobody can help you. So at least please do not think that you're the body. Okay, that's fine. Think you're a jiva and that jiva is a part of God, and that's fine too. That's fine. Okay, because when you believe in that, when you have faith in that, ultimately in one of these births you will come to realize your oneness with God. Okay, so we had completed that verse and we were on verse 161. That's where my bookmark is. Correct? 161. So it's page 215 in my book. It's verse 161. Atratma buddhim tyajamudha buddhe tvang masamedosti purisha rashau sarvatmani brahmani nirvikalpe kurushva shantim paramam bhajasva. Cease to identify yourself with this packet of skin, flesh, fat, bones, and filth. I'm not saying it, huh, Baba? Otherwise, you will say, what is it? She's telling all these things. See, Bhagwan himself is saying, Gurudev also has said, if you want to listen to Gurudev's Vivekachudamani, please feel free. I have no problem. I have heard from there only, and I'm telling you. So consider it as a request, consider it as a plea, consider it as a friendly advice, whatever that you want to consider it as an order, consider it as an injunction. As spiritual seekers, we must take it as an injunction. I must cease to identify with this packet of filth. And every time you think of the body, think of packet of filth or think of garbage bag, and then see how you feel. This is very, very important that we get off of this identification with the body. Instead, identify yourself with the absolute Brahman, the self of all, and gain the experience of the supreme peace. Because only in identification with that one without a second, there can be peace. There can never be peace in this world because the world is full of dualities. And wherever you look for peace, there will be Ashanti. Because Shanti and Ashanti, joy and sorrow are two sides of the same coin. So you cannot get one side of the coin and then say, I don't want the other side. You can't. It's impossible. Can you get a coin only with the heads? No, you have to have the heads and you have to have the tail. And that is what the world is. That is what sansar is. And the more you identify with the body means what? Identify with the body means what? This body is real. Now, when this body is real, only this much is me. Then everything outside of me is the world. Right? So when the body is real, then the world is real. And what is the world? World is nothing but pairs of opposites. So there will be sorrow and sorrow alone. And perpetual sorrow, because this world, when you go on acting in this world, you're making blueprints for your next birth. So that's why it becomes perpetual. It becomes endless. That's why sansar is called endless. If you want to end this cycle of birth and death, which is identification, birth is change and so is death is change. So this identification with change, if you want to end it, you need to identify, hold on to something else. That's why Gurudev said, attach and detach. So attach, identify yourself with that supreme reality and then let go of this false identification. This is what Atratma buddhim tyaja mudha buddhehe. Mudha, foolish. Bhagwan calls all the ignorant people, those who think themselves. Mudha, I've told you before also. It's not that he is not educated. Okay, he has got high accolades. He is very well knowledgeable in material sciences. But he still thinks he's the body. If he thinks like that, then as per Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he is mudha, foolish. Dehendriyada vasati brahmotida vidvan hantam na jahati yavat tavanna tasyasti vimukti varta tavanna tasyasti vimukti varta api stvesha vedanta nayanta darshi. There is no liberation for a man of mere book knowledge, even if he be very well read in the philosophy of Vedanta, so long as he does not give up his false identification with the body, sense organs, etc., which are unreal. So Bhagwan is giving a conclusion here that no matter how much studies we have seen, we read that sannyasa shloka in front of Swamiji, like without progeny, without by wealth, by progeny, by this thing, Amritattva cannot be obtained. This is what it is, that this spiritual ignorance cannot go by mere reading of books. Means you can be well versed. Bhagavan in his commentaries on Upanishads also has said that you can be a scholar in Sanskrit. You may have read all the four Vedas front to back, back to front, Bhagavad Gita by heart. You know, both ways. Gurudev used to say not only from chapter 1 to from 18 backwards, if he is asked to tell, he will tell. But that is not guaranteeing you liberation, because it is a shift in vision. It is not erudition, it is not scholarliness that will get you liberation. It will be the shift in vision. So the shift in vision has to happen. I'm not the body and I'm the self. Aham Brahmasmi has to happen. Then only I am Atma Brahma or Aham Brahmasmi has to happen. And only that can get you liberation, not just reading of any books. Okay, and this spiritual ignorance is the cause of Sansar. Sansar, a realm of change. Sansar, a realm of birth and death. Transmigration. All this and transmigration, change is sorrow. Change is sorrow. So if we want to end this, Bhagavan is again and again pleading with us to shift our attention from the body to the self. And this is, which are unreal, mithya they are. And he's given us various reasons, right? Because the body changes, body perishes, modifies, decays, disease, all this with the body. Chaya sharire pratibimba gatre yat swapna dehe hridhi kalpitange yathatma buddhistavanasti kachita jivat jivat sharire cha tathaiva mastu. Just as you would not identify yourself with your shadow, your reflection, your dream body, or the body in your heart's imagination, so too you should not identify yourself with your living body. So mastu here, ma, in the last paragraph, Gurudev has given that negative ma ought not to, instead of the usual negative na, he implies a more humble request than a categorical warning. So ma means, there are two meanings to ma. Ma is, one is measure, to measure, but ma here is negative. Don't do it. That's why Gurudev has also given ma shuchaha. We have the verse in chapter 18, ma shuchaha, do not grieve. So this is what he's saying, ma, so don't identify yourself. Just as in the, you know, you dream and then maybe you might see yourself to be very rich or very intelligent or very beautiful or whatever, but once you wake up, will you identify with that body or identifying with the shadow? That's why Gurudev has given this. So you're walking and then somebody spits on your shadow. Do we go and fight with that person? You spat on my shadow. Or the truck goes over your shadow. Do we go sue the driver? You killed my shadow, you ran over my shadow. We don't. But if somebody were to spit on our body, we would. And that's why the master is telling us that just like you would not be upset about somebody doing something to your shadow because you're not identified with it, you know it is something other than you. Same way with the body, don't get upset. And you might think that this is a bit of a exaggeration, but you know, there is a Bhikshu Gita in which it is the story of it is from Bhagavad Puran, and he is the story of actually a loan shark. He used to be a loan shark, and people would borrow from him, and he was so cruel and he was so bad, and he was like, he was only after his money. So everybody kind of hated him literally, but due to some grace, he realizes his true self. He gives up everything and he becomes a renunciate and he becomes a monk. And the people don't believe him. People think, no, he's faking it. How can a man who was so like bad, you know, like so cruel, he was after his money all the time, turn into something like this? So they would actually go spit at him. It's said, huh? This is Bhikshu Gita is there. Swami Tejavanji's commentary is there. They will urinate on him. They will, and he literally, and then he say, oh, but that's not me. That's the body. So this is possible, but for realized masters. Okay, for us, we'd be very, very upset. But at least we can try. We can try. Okay. So that's why he says, just as you, with the shadow or your reflection, with the reflection in the mirror, I know that it's a reflection. So if somebody says something about the reflection, then we're not going to worry about it. Or the reflection is, in the hall of mirrors, when you go, you will see one reflection which is very fat, one which is very, very thin, one which is very tall, one which is very short. You don't get upset. If a dog walks in there in a hall of mirrors, he will start barking because he thinks there are so many dogs who are his enemies. But when we walk in there, human beings, we know they are not our enemies, right? But we don't identify with them either. So if somebody says, oh God, how fat you look, I say, okay, but that's my reflection. I am not fat. I may look fat. So that way he says, don't identify. So somebody says you're fat, you're stupid. One good thing, if somebody says you're stupid, you know what you should say? Abhi pata chala, you came to know now? I've been stupid for so, that means who is stupid? You are stupid. Brush it off. That's why there are 2 years. You hear, then you let go from the other year. So, or the body in your heart's imagination, you might want, in your heart, you might want to be a model or whatever, then this thing. So that way, do not identify with this body. And you ought not to. Gurudev says that it is a plea, it is a request. Like I told you, we as spiritual seekers, we must take these instructions very seriously if we want to progress on the spiritual path. There is a big if. That if is always there. If I want to progress, I must follow these. Even though Bhagwan is requesting, we should take it as an order, as an injunction, and then try to follow that. Okay? Dehatmadhire vanranam sadhyam janmadi dukkha prabhavasya bijam yatastastavam jahitam prayatnat yukte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. For those who are attached to the unreal, identification with the body is the seed from which the misery of birth, etc., stems forth. Therefore, put in all your efforts to destroy it. There can be no chance of rebirth if this identification caused by the mind is renounced. So we have seen the metaphor of the little tree, right? That there is a seed and then the seed sprouts, and then there are these 2 likes and dislikes, 2 leaves which are like likes and dislikes. They make us act, and then those actions give results. And then so this is what he's saying, that this when we are attached to when we are attached to the body, that is what is going to give rise to otherness. And because this world is other than me, then I'm going to desire, I'm going to like something, and I'm going to dislike something because there's something other. See, if it is me only, can I like it or dislike it? If I know that this reflection is mine in the mirror, do I say, oh, I love my reflection? Do I say that it's me? Or do I say, God, I hate my reflection? Sometimes we say, because we are identified with the body, we'll say, I don't look good. There was another joke in our bank when I was working in India. So, you be modest and you're humble. So you're showing your photograph to your friend, right? And you say, my didn't come nice. My photo didn't come. Because out of humility, you say it, huh? Then the friend says, yeah, but your face is only like that. So how do you expect that photo to be good? That was our typical joke in Hindi. Will say, "Arey thobda hi वैसा है तो वैसे ही photo आएगी ना अभी क्या?" What is there? So, but if I know it's me, right? So that's why I say, don't, because the more you identify with the body, the more you're going to create differences. When the body is only this much, okay, then it is female, then it is, all these other things are coming out of this identification, and that is what is giving rise to birth and rebirth, because it's action, reaction, result, exhaustion of result, more births. Okay, that cycle we have seen many times. So pratna, so put all your efforts, pratna, do practice. Practice makes perfect. So remind yourself at every step that I am not this body. This body is my vehicle. The body has been given to me. I should take care of this body, and I should use it like a master would use a slave. So put the body to work, get work done from the body, etc., but don't consider yourself as the body. Yukte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. So if you can get disidentify with the body, then you have a chance. Na punar bhava asha. Bhava is sansara. Asha, there will be no hope of sansar. Means what? Means there will be no hope of rebirth. You will not have rebirth if you disidentify with this body, because the jiva is what is going through transmigration. As soon as the jiva disengages from the body, it attaches to chit. Jiva has got two aspects. Jiva has got a substratum, which is chit, and then it has got this chidabhasa, which is mithya. Chidabhasa means this body identification. There is one part is identifying with the body, but actually it is the substratum. So the jiva has to turn its attention from this body, unreal body, to that substratum. That's why it's a shift in vision. Vedanta is only a shift in vision. It is not an action. But to come to that stage, a lot of purity of mind is required. That is there. So for that, purity of mind action is required. To purify the mind, we need karma yoga. We'll be talking about it on Sunday. So anyway, so this is what Bhagavan is saying, that once you get your mind to disidentify from the unreal, there will be no more sansar for you. There will be no more birth for you. Okay, so that ends the Annamaya Kosha, discrimination. Are there any questions so far? Does anybody still think they are the body? Please say no, because then that means I'm a complete failure. Bhagavan, 10 verses, 54 to 64. Okay, all right. Now he goes on to the Pranamaya Kosha. We know the 5 koshas. First Pranamaya, first Annamaya, and then the Pranamaya. Pranamaya is between the B and the M. So between the Annamaya and the Manomaya is the Pranamaya Kosha. Now he's going to explain this vital air sheath. कर्मेन्द्रियै पञ्चभिरञ्चितोऽयं प्राणो भवेत् प्राणमयस्तु कोशः येनात्मवान् अन्नमयोऽनुपूर्णः प्रवर्तते सौ सकलक्रियासु. The prana, along with the 5 organs of action, constitutes the vital air sheath, pervaded by which the food sheath, physical body, performs all its activities as though it were living. So the pranas are, like I told you, they're in between the Annamaya and the Manomaya Kosha, and they control. There are the 5 pranas which we have seen: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. The 5 pranas control the physiological functions in the body. The fact that I can speak, the fact that you're hearing, the fact that I'm moving my arms is because of the prana shakti. Okay, so the supreme reality expresses through the Annamaya Kosha as existence alone. Annamaya Kosha does not have any consciousness, does not have any activity. Please remember. That's why you see in stroke or paralytic patients, the arm is fine, like you look, but the person cannot lift the arm. So if the body, Annamaya Kosha, had the power to act, then that cannot happen. So that tells us, medically I'm telling you, don't even need scriptures, that the pranas are what is controlling the movement of the limbs, of the eyes, closing of the eyes, opening, vomiting, digestion, circulation of blood. Everything is being controlled by the pranas. Now, so expression of the supreme reality through the pranas is existence plus activity. And the pranamaya kosha pranas are subtler than the body. Why Annamaya Kosha? Why? Because Annamaya Kosha we can see, we can taste, we can smell. All 5 perceptions are there for the Annamaya. But for the pranamaya, you only know. So only there you know that there is pranas. It is also known as the Linga Sharira. Some people think that the pranas are God. There is actually a story in Prashnopanishad where all the senses think that we are God. So the eyes say, no, we are God. Without us, the body cannot function. So everybody else says, why don't you take a break, go on a vacation. So the eyes go away and the body is functioning. We know blind people can function. Ears go away, body keeps functioning. So we know deaf people can function. Normally they can function, right? So that way one senses go and then nothing happens. The speech goes away, body is living still. So they get humbled. They say, oh no, we can't be God because without us the body is living. Then pranas, prana says we are God, and the prana starts getting up from their seat. This is how the story is in Prashna. So when the pranas, even just like getting up from the seat, nobody can breathe. Everybody is like, all the senses say, no, no, please don't leave us, please don't leave us. And you are God. But please understand, there, it's a mystic language. So it's not that pranas are God. Pranas are the conscious, because of consciousness, the presence of consciousness in the body, the pranas are active. The reason, see, what we are breathing in is atmospheric air, right? Everybody's breathing in the same air. But the minute it enters the body, it is known as prana. Why? Because when it enters through our nostrils, it comes in contact with the consciousness which is there. And then it becomes prana. And then it gets the activating force, activating power. So by itself, pranas are inert. That's why pranas directly are not God. They should never be mistaken. That story is there, but there then they pray to the pranas as God. That's the hidden meaning in that story. So we should not mistake that prana has got existence and activity, but it has no consciousness. How do I know it has no consciousness? Think about it. When all the whole other sense organs and mind are sleeping, pranas are working. If they had any consciousness, you think they'll work? 24/7 pranas are working. Digestion is going on, circulation is going on, breathing is going on in deep sleep. When all the senses are folded, pranas are still working. They don't have the brains. They don't have that intelligence. They don't have that. So they go on working 24/7. And therefore they are inert. Their activating power is coming from consciousness. And therefore they are not consciousness. And therefore I am not the pranamaya portion. Okay? Please remember this. So so constitutes the vital sheath pervaded by which the food sheath physical performs all its activities. So the pranas pervade the annamaya kosha, and because of the pranas, the annamaya kosha is functioning. All right, but pranas do not have the knowledge. They do not have knowledge. They only have existence and activity. That is the expression of the supreme reality through the annamaya kosha and the pranamaya kosha. Na eva atma api pranamayo vayu vikaraha ganta aganta vayuvat antaha bahireshaha yasmat kinchit kwapi na vetishtam anishtam swam va anyam va kinchan nityam paratantraha. Now he gives the reason. He explained what the function of the pranamaya kosha was. Now he gives the reason why it cannot be me. The vital air sheath cannot be the self because it is a modification of air, vayu. And vayu is inert. Vayu is one of the 5 great elements which have come from Maya. We know that the 5 elements came from Ishvara and then Maya and the 5 elements. So if they have a birth, in the sense they were created, that is another reason. Atma is not created. Atma is not born, but Vayu is born. And what are these pranas? They are only a modification of that air outside. That's what I told you. Outside it is atmospheric air. Inside, when it comes in contact with consciousness, it's called prana. But it is only a modification of air. Like air, it enters the body and goes out of it, never knowing its joys or sorrows or those of others. So it does not have the capacity to know. That's what it means. It does not know joy. It does not know sorrow. It only knows acting. If it had any knowledge, it would have said, all of you guys are asleep. Why should we be working? We also want to sleep. But they never say that. It's your own experience, sorrows of or those of others. It is ever dependent on the self. That's what I told you, that it is because of the supreme consciousness that the pranas get their power to activate, and then they activate the annamaya kosha, and because of them the annamaya kosha is activated. Whatever movements are happening, walking, talking, grasping, whatever movements, breathing, digestion, all this is being controlled by the pranamaya kosha. Okay, it is subtler than the Annamaya Kosha. There are some masters who call the Pranamaya Kosha as they take it with the Annamaya Kosha, so they call it gross body, or we take it as subtle body because Bhagavan Shankaracharya takes it as subtle body and Gurudev takes it as subtle body. But if somebody says no, they are part of the gross body, no need to fight, that's fine, because they are like they are the connection between the Annamaya and the Manomaya Kosha. They are the glue. That's what Annamaya and Manomaya get glued because of the Pranamaya Kosha in between. So pranas can go either Annamaya, because they say, oh, we can, you feel it, right? When you breathe out, you feel the air. So they say it's gross, and then we say it's subtle, but there's no difference. All right. Next, very, very important, next is the mental sheath, because all our knowledge is coming from this mental, because how do I say I know? Where do I know? I know in the mind, right? So this mental sheath becomes very important. And imagine 167 to 183. So how many verses he has spent explaining to us why I cannot. This is where we kind of seem to have problems, more problems. Jnanendriyani chaman. No. ज्ञानेन्द्रियाणि च मनश्च मनोमय स्यात् कोशो ममाहमिति वस्तु विकल्पहेतुः सज्ञादिभेदकलनाकलितो बलीयाम् तत्पूर्वकोशमभिपूर्य विजृम्भते यः. The organs of perception, along with the mind, form the mental sheath, which is the sole cause for the I and mine diversity of things. It has the essential faculty of creating differences of names, etc. And it is powerful. It pervades the sheath preceding it, the vital air sheath. So Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. So Annamaya is the grossest. Pranamaya is subtler than the Annamaya, and it pervades the Annamaya Kosha. And Manomaya is subtler than the Pranamaya Kosha, and it pervades the Pranamaya Kosha. Now, the Supreme Reality expresses as existence through the Annamaya, as existence and activity through the Pranamaya, and existence, activity, and knowledge. So there is one more aspect added, consciousness through this mental sheath. Okay. And the Manomaya Kosha, even the Pranamaya Kosha is the pranas plus the organs of action. That's why they have come from the Rajasic aspect of the elements, because you need Rajas for action. So when we say kosha, it includes both, please understand. So there is the pranas, the 5 pranas. There are 49 sub pranas. We won't go into that. So these 5 pranas along with the organs of action, and we mean subtle organs of action. And here the mind along with the organs of perception. So organs of perception are also only 5: eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and skin. So both these form, not the gross, not the gross skin. It is the golaka, the subtle. To give you an example, a blind person, his gross eyes will be perfect, but he can't see. So there is the eye, and then there is a power of seeing behind it. So this power of seeing, power of hearing, power of smell, that is what is meant by this subtle, because the fleshy eye, the nose, etc., they fall under Annamaya Kosha. They're gross. So they come under Annamaya Kosha. They've come from the tamasic aspect. Annamaya Kosha is tamasic. Mind and sense perceptions have come from the sattvic aspect of the elements, and pranas and the organs of action have come from the rajasic aspect of the elements. Okay, so understand it this way. Now, so what is the mental sheath is first explained. It is it pervades the pranamaya kosha. The other thing about, and which is the sole cause for I and mind, because it is the mind which tells. Did you have a question, Naranji? So it is the sole cause for I and mind differences. What is I and mind? The mind is what is telling me that I am the body. It's the mind that tells us. And then because I become the body, there's always will be a difference between me and the world outside. It is very difficult for us to understand that the body also falls in the world. That part is very difficult for us to understand. So diversity of things, it creates differences. It says, this is mine, that is not mine, mine and yours. In Tulsi Ramayana, there is a Rama Gita is there. There is a, it's also, that portion is also called as Rama Gita. There is another Rama Gita from Adhyatmana, that is different. This Rama Gita, Lakshman is the student and Sri Ram is the teacher. Lakshman asks, what is Maya? What is the definition of Maya? There Bhagwan Ram says, Maya is me and you. That is what Maya is. He says, मैं और तू, me and you, mine and yours, I and you. This is what Maya is. And this Maya is created by the mind. Mind is Maya. So it's ignorance. So creating differences of names, etc. And it is powerful, the mind. And because the mind is powerful, because it controls actually the pranamaya kosha and the annamaya kosha. As you get subtler, that kosha controls the grosser kosha. A very simple example to tell you, see that suppose the body, annamaya kosha needs food, body is hungry. But now the pranas, there's something wrong with the pranas. So there's something wrong with your digestive system. Then you won't feel like eating if there's something wrong with the pranas, right? Now, the body is fine, normal, pranas are also fine. But you hear something very sorrowful for the mind. Then suddenly you lose your hunger. You say, "Na, I can't even think of food now because I've got so much." So this is how this control happens. The subtler sheath always controls the grosser sheaths. So the mind controls, right? Because the mind has now suddenly gotten some really bad news, sad news, and now the body is not hungry anymore. It was, but now it doesn't feel hungry anymore. But then the intellectual sheath is also subtler than the mind. So when the mind is stunned like that with sad news, say, example, then the intellectual sheath says, but if you don't eat and if you don't have the strength, how are you going to go help that person? Intelligence comes in, right? So then what happens is, then the mind calms down and then the body will eat. Because why? Because the intelligence has taken over. The intellectual sheath has taken over, saying, if you don't eat, if your body doesn't have the strength, you cannot help that person who is in need. This is how the intelligence takes over. And above the intelligence is the spiritual level. So at a spiritual level, then things become different. But this is how this control happens. So this is why it is said that this mind is very powerful. We know that. Mind can, mind can go extroverted, mind can go introverted. Mind can go out, mind can go in, and it pulls us out. With the senses, mind pulls us. When we have strong likes and desires, the mind pulls us towards that what we like and takes us away from that which we don't like. So this is, and it creates differences. With the mind, a few things about the mind is, one is that it pervades the pranamaya kosha, means it controls the pranamaya kosha. Then the other, mind can only know things which it has heard of. When we go to the intellectual sheath, then I'll tell you the difference. We have heard, okay, in Tattva Bodh, we have heard there are 4 parts to the mind, right? Mind, intellect, chitta, and ahankara. So mind and chitta, mind and memory go together, and intellect and ego go together. So that way, so when we say mental sheath and intellectual sheath, the mental sheath is including the memory part of it. And the intellectual sheath will include the ego, the doership part of it. Okay. But here, when he's describing the mind, he is actually taking all of this together, because actually this I and my is being created by the ego. But here he's not differentiating it, at least in this verse. So that's why he says. Now, the other thing about the mind is, the mind has to be present with the sense organ if an understanding has to happen. We have seen that. We are walking, our mind is somewhere else. Even a person whom we know comes in front of us, we don't cognize him or her. It doesn't register that this person has come in, because my mind is wandering somewhere. It's worried about something or it's thinking about something. So you understand that. So with the sense organ, the mind has to be present for any kind of understanding to happen in the mind. Like if you're listening, but your mind is worried about something, you won't understand what I'm saying. That happens to us now in all lectures. It happens. So this is what it is. Okay, and then it is creating I-ness and minus inside the mind. In the mind, I think this is me and this is not me. This is mine and this is yours. All these differences. This is, the world is different from me. The world is real, etc., etc. This is what the job of the mind is. Okay. Now, पंचेन्द्रियै पञ्चभिरेव होतृभिः प्रचीयमानो विषयाज्य धारया जाज्वल्यमानो बहुवासनेन्धनैः मनोमयाग्निर्वहति प्रपञ्चम्. The five sense organs act as priests who feed the fuel of numerous desires into the mental sheath, which is the sacrificial fire. This fire, mental sheath, brings about and maintains the entire phenomenal world when it is set ablaze by the sense objects, which act as a continuous stream of oblations. So it's a metaphor. If you have seen a yajna or a homa or a havana, there is a yajna kunda. You know, there are the bricks which are laid, and in there is these little sticks of wood, and a fire is lit, and then that fire is kept ablaze by pouring ghee into it. Right? The priest is pouring all kinds of oblations as well as the ghee to keep that fire going. Everybody understands this? This you must have seen. Arya Samajis generally will do this Havan thing. Okay, so what he's comparing, the mind, he says, is like that fire. In that yajna kunda, that is the fire. Now, who are bringing oblations? The five sense organs are bringing oblations, right? So the eyes are bringing in color and form, sound, smell, touch, and then the tongue is bringing in taste. All these are being offered into the fire, right? So all these desirable objects are coming into the mind, and that is how the mind is kept ablaze. How the fire is being kept ablaze by this. See, sometimes we have this wrong notion that I will fulfill my desires and they will all get over. This is what is telling us. No, no, it's like a fire. The more you feed the fire becomes more and more ignited. Same way, the more you feed this mind, the mind becomes stronger and stronger. And then saying, okay, you gave me one, now I want number 2 and number 3 and number 4. So this is why this fire example has been given. Like a fire, you know, consumes everything. The mind is like that fire. As long as you keep on feeding it, it'll remain alive. And then what it is doing is it wants more and more. And that's why it says Vahati Prapancham. It carries this Prapancha is Sansara. So this Sansara is actually being supported by the mind, by the minds of all the jivas. How is this sansar happening? My mind wants so many things. My mind does not want n number of things. Okay, so what I want, I run after. What I don't want, I run away from. And it is creating more and more vasanas. It is creating more and more blueprints. It's all the mind. Body is inert. Body is not doing anything. Mind is ordering the body. Go eat that. Go see the movie. Go listen to this music. Go buy those clothes. Shoes. Buy shoes. Right? So and then the organs of actions are doing that. So the eye sees something, oh, that I want. So then the body will go bring it. And then this. And this is how we are offering it into this blazing mind. And the mind is kept absolutely alert and burning.
Jayaji,
If you cut off, what will happen to the fire? If you cut off the oblations,
so Jayaji, I
right?
had
Don't
a
put ghee in
question.
there. Don't put ghee.
Jayaji, I
Don't.
had a question.
Yeah.
But sometimes the mind does stop. For example, we eat chocolate, the first and the second and the third, it's easy, but by the time it comes to the 10th and the 20th, we kind of fall sick. So something stops the mind, even if we have more and more of the same thing. What is that?
Yeah. So suppose, so you're saying that if you have the like 10 chocolates, then at that time you don't want it. But does it not come back? After a few days, it'll come back,
Mhm.
the desire, right? At that point, you get disgusted. And you have given it up out of disgust, not out of dispassion.
Right.
Eating 10 chocolates is disgusting you. The 10 chocolate is disgusting you. It is not making you dispassionate. What is needed is dispassion.
Right.
So it doesn't, when you eat, you should say, okay, it is there, so I'm eating it. But if it's not there, it doesn't bother me. If you can say that, then you're calming the mind down. Dispassion will calm the mind down, not disgust. Disgust will go away. It is one side of the coin. There is love and there is disgust. First chocolate you loved. Second, okay, you loved. Third, like. Fourth, okay, fine, fine, fine. 10th, disgust. It'll go away. It'll fade. So the mind, just like the fire, you stop putting things into it, and now the stopping this putting things has to come out of knowledge and dispassion, has to come out of a feeling that I want to achieve something higher, and that's why because if you suppress the mind, okay, it'll come out in double force. So it has to be sublimated. There are these two words, please remember, sublimation and suppression. Now, suddenly you cut off things from the mind. Physically, you might be able to stay away, but the mind will constantly go there. Unless there is dispassion, which is going beyond like and dislike both. Dispassion is not dislike. People think, that, oh, I'm very dispassionate towards this. But actually, they don't like it. And then you say, like in my childhood, I was very dispassionate towards papaya because I never liked papaya in my life. I was small. That was that is not dispassion. That is not dispassion. Because things, in life, of course, in food, you can say, okay, I don't like this, I won't eat this, and I will eat that. But in life is not going to say that, oh, Jaya, you don't like this, okay, so I won't give you snow. Who's going to say that to me? Whether I like snow or not, like tough luck, man, it's coming, it's coming. So in life, situations don't come like that. Now, we don't know what situation is going to come. And to handle those situations, we need dispassion. So that when good comes as well as when bad comes, we remain sane. We'll be talking in detail about this on Sunday. This is a very important verse coming up. So on Sunday, I will elaborate much more than this. But here what is being said is that just as he's given a metaphor, like the fire you add oblation, same way these 5 priests, so-called, you can say, that's what he's saying, like these panchendriyas, these 5 sense organs are like, because the priest is putting oblations into the fire, that way there are 5 priests who are sitting around the fire and pouring things in. And as they go on pouring things, the mind is never, maybe at one point, this taste, you talked about chocolate. So, okay, so then mind is disgusted about chocolate, but mind is still not disgusted about color and form, sound, smell, touch. It's not just one, right? Others are there. And then if it is a disgust, it'll come back. If it is dispassion, it'll be dispassion towards all sense organs. When dispassion is developed in the mind, whether it is color or form, there'll be control. Whether it is sound, whether it is touch, whether it is taste, there will be a control. So dispassion is to be developed for controlling the mind. Okay, any questions?
Jaji, when you mean dispassion, meaning does it mean only controlled by the mind or from each senses? I mean, because you have
No,
to get,
mind. Dispassion has to be at the level of the mind.
yeah, but then to get to that state, you have to start controlling each sense organs, right? I mean, uh, uh, so.
Yeah, at the gross level you can, but the problem is you can control the sense organ, but the mind can run outside.
Okay.
See, a person who is addicted to smoking. So at the gross level, he cannot buy cigarettes. Okay. Do you think the mind will cigarettes?
Okay.
Mind is
Yeah.
subtler than the sense organs, right? Mind can go to places where sense organs cannot go. Or the body, okay, so the body cannot go to the shop and buy cigarettes, but the mind will go to the and smoke. Mind will smoke. In the mind, you will smoke. So control at the level of the mind is the king of the senses. Remember that. So if the mind says that I do not want to eat this, or I do not want to smoke this cigarette, or I do not want to see this movie, the eyes cannot say, no, I want to see the movie. Let's go. Eyes have no control over the organs of action. Mind has. So when the mind says, I want to see, even when the eyes are feeling sleepy or tired, the body will go because the mind is controlling. So the eyes are very tired, Her eyes cannot say, I'm too tired now, Baba. No, it's the mind. The mind control is more important. Very, very important. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? We can stop here today. We'll go on next time.
Ji, clarify me, please. This is Mohini. We say that vasanas should be fulfilled, right?
Vasana should be fulfilled.
Fulfilled, yeah, so that we can not fulfill, as this is exhausted, so and not to create new vasanas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these vasanas, these small things like eating chocolate or eating something or going movie, if we have it in limited sense, very strong desire to go particular movie or particular thing to do, shouldn't we do that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, if it is ethical, logical, if it is okay, definitely you can do it. That's why we say develop dispassion. The thing is, if it is possible for you to do it, do it. But if you cannot do it, you cannot get upset.
Okay.
That is dispassion.
Okay. The main thing here is to keep equilibrium of the mind, the balance of the mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In any situation, keep the balance of mind.
Yeah, because things that you desire, actually in Gurudev in chapter 7, he gave a very beautiful, he was saying, this Swami does not like eggplant. He was saying, how things which you don't like, thrifty.
Yeah.
And I went for Bhiksha, Swami went for Bhiksha, and the hostess said, Swamiji, eggplant is not available in New York. I had it flown from Chicago. So the point is, what you don't like will come running to you. And what you like will be running away from you. If you like something, that's Swamiji, what New York, full North America, this thing was not available. So sorry, Swamiji. It didn't get it. And what I do from, I special eggplant for you, Swamiji. And I've made it only for you because it was very limited quantity. Nobody else. So point is, see, where I have a choice, if I have a choice, okay, I don't like papaya, so I can eat some other fruit. That is very minor. But what situations are going to come to me, I don't know. That's why in that game of life, they say in a cricket game or in a ball game, the batter knows where the ball is coming from, when it is coming, who is throwing it, what is the strength of that bowler. He knows all that, and yet the batsman gets out. Right? In cricket, baseball, they get out. And they actually have studied the ball and the person who is bowling. They know A to Z. And now in life, ball will come from above, from behind, from sideways. We don't know what kind of a ball is going to come. We don't know who is bowling it at us. So we have to be extra careful, extra prepared. Like the batsman is so prepared, so trained, not only that he's trained in his own, he's trained in how that person is bowling. What are his strengths also the batsman knows, and yet he gets out. We don't even know what the strength of the ball is going to be, where it is going to come from, when it is going to hit us. So imagine how much more prepared we have to be in the game of life. This is a game. Life is a game. Right? Be prepared. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्ति भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम everybody.